have so little control over the things and people we encounter. Chances are we can make a wrong decision here and there and let in people who drain more than they give. Toxic people are everywhere and come in all shapes and sizes. Even if they came with a warning label, it might still be challenging to avoid. Hello everyone and welcome to Highly Successful You. Today we're going to talk about 10 ways to deal with a toxic person and toxic relationship. When you're dealing with toxic people and relationships, it's rarely cut and dry. Recognizing them alone can take a long time, and cutting them out can be draining. If you've been dealing with toxic people, that means you're ready to handle them. These tips will help you deal with every sort of toxic person and hopefully get you out of the cycle of abuse that these sorts of people can trap you in. Now, let's begin. Number 1, pay attention to how they make you feel. Sometimes the first step is becoming aware of how toxic behavior affects you. That simple step can help you better navigate interactions with them. Most people will occasionally say something rude or hurtful. No one is 100% at their best all the time, and feeling low can make anyone lash out. But this isn't necessarily toxic behavior in and of itself. You need to take stock of how this particular person handles your interactions. Do lies, put-downs, or other types of emotional and verbal abuse color every interaction with them? Do they apologize or even acknowledge how their actions might be affecting you? Taking stock of the exchanges and how they make you feel can give you a better idea of whether you consider their behavior to be toxic in the first place. Number 2, don't get drawn in. Dealing with someone's toxic behavior can be draining. This toxic person may constantly complain about others, have news stories about their unfair treatment. They may even accuse you of wronging them or not caring about their needs. Resist the urge to jump on the complaining bandwagon or defend yourself against accusations, as that sort of behavior can lead them to believe you want to engage. Instead, try responding with a simple, "I'm sorry you feel that way," and disengage from there. Number 3, don't feel obligated to explain yourself. Toxic people often demand things from you without explanation. One of the things they might require is an explanation for anything you might be doing. This can range from day-to-day activities, to established boundaries, to a simple no to something they expected you to agree to. Learn to be selective about the information you give them, because recognizing that you don't owe them anything is the first way to moving away from those toxic behaviors. This will be met with resistance, blaming, passive aggression, or outright anger. You have to learn to stay strong, as the less they know, the better. The more information you give a toxic person, the more power they have over you and the more they can use that against you. Only explain what you want to, and not because you feel you need to justify your choices to them. Number 4, offer compassion but don't try to fix them. People can change, but rarely will they if they aren't willing to put in the work on their end. While you might want to help someone become better instead of writing them entirely out of your life, you need to be clear with yourself why you're doing that. You can offer them compassion and kindness without trying to force them to change. At the end of the day, to change, you need to be willing to commit to putting in the effort. Trying to force them to do this without them helping can sap your energies further and may not change anything in the first place. Number 5, avoid playing into their reality. Toxic people look different, and no two are exactly alike. However, many of them have the tendency to see themselves as the victim in every situation. If they made mistakes, they might shift the blame onto someone else or tell a story to spin it in their favor. It might seem easier to smile and nod to prevent the angry outburst. Still, at that point, you're making yourself into a supporter of their behavior. Instead, try respectful disagreement. Things like, "I had a different take on the situation," and proceed to stick to facts without making accusations. This disagreement will likely upset them, but they won't see you as someone who will nod along if they try to involve you again. Number 6, make yourself unavailable. Toxic people will feed off of the easiest prey, as they can generally sense the people who will be the easiest to manipulate. If you're never available, they may eventually stop trying to engage. It can be a great tactic at work, as being able to use genuine excuses will help. You need to know that their behavior is not about you or any perceived hurt they say you've caused. It's about their desire to manipulate you. Number 7. Set boundaries. If you will continue to tolerate communication with a person you know is toxic, setting boundaries can help in a huge way. Setting boundaries can mean setting parameters as to the topics of discussion or the times you two can speak. Let's say you have a colleague who won't leave you alone on the clock. You can try discussing a boundary that, while you don't mind listening to them during lunch, you expect to be left alone when you're working. If your in-laws are always showing up unannounced, let them know that they have to tell you when they're coming over, or you won't be able to accommodate them. If someone explicitly says they will not respect an established boundary, then follow through with the threat that you won't be putting up with that kind of behavior. You don't need to bend your boundaries to make them more comfortable, because they need to respect what you say. If they won't, you need to establish that that kind of behavior won't be accepted. Number 8. Limit your time together. If you can, try to minimize contact with the toxic person to the best of your ability. If it's a coworker, ask to change your desk arrangement. If it's a family member, try to spend less time in your home with them until you can be financially independent. You may already be looking for ways to get yourself out of this situation, as spending time with an overtly toxic person can be draining. If you have to spend time with them, like a gathering or function you can't get out of, always have an exit strategy ready to get out with. Make sure you maintain pre-established boundaries and don't be afraid to take a step back if things get overwhelming. Number 9. Say no and follow through. Sticking to your decisions can be tricky when it comes to someone you might care about. This goes double for someone who tries to guilt trip you into changing your mind. If you decide that enough is enough and you say no to this person, you need not back down. It might be a challenge, but saying no needs to be a final decision. If you say no and decide to give them a little bit of a yes in between, they won't take your decisions as seriously and you're back to square one. The more you say no to things you aren't comfortable with, the easier it will become. Number 10. Learn to put yourself first. Taking care of yourself means having the emotional energy to meet your needs. This can be dampened when you're giving everything to people who don't give anything in return. Behavior doesn't need to be abusive or spiteful to be toxic. Other behaviors can drag you down all the same, even if you don't realize it at first. You need to recognize when the other person is taking more than they're giving back and address whether this is worth your time or energy to continue first. Sometimes cutting people out of your life may seem like the only way to escape their toxic behavior, but this isn't always a choice. Sometimes these toxic people are staples, and you're stuck with their behavior. Setting boundaries and establishing ground rules can be a baseline because it's essential to establish with them front and center what you're not willing to tolerate. More than anything, you need to remind yourself that their actions aren't your fault or responsibility. That brings us to the end of today's video. Are there any thoughts you'd like to share? Drop it down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from us again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.